Ladies, men's primary focus is not relationships. They are biologically selfish.
So whenever you listen to dating and relationship advice, understand that there are levels of truth. On the surface, it seems like men are selfish because by default, they don't value relationships. And she's right, by default, that is not their primary focus. But that doesn't mean that they are any more selfish than women are just because women have their primary focus in attachment and relationships. Here's why men's primary focus, or as I like to call it, default state, isn't in focusing on relationships and why it's not always selfish. It's because men need to be empty of emotion. The masculine has to be empty of emotion in order to solve problems. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever benefited personally from a masculine man solving your problems? Of course you have. We all have. Now I'm not saying that women never solve problems. They do. But men are the ones who have the most available metabolic energy to go out, rise to challenges, and solve new problems. That's where their biology tends to err towards. And yes, women by default focus on attachment. They lead with their attachment, and feminine women love to engage in relationships to build friendships, communities, and of course, family. But that doesn't make women any less selfish. This woman's definition of selfishness is rooted in feminine bias. What feminine bias is this? The very feminine bias of focusing on relationships. We assume that just because women, or the feminine women of the world, focus on relationships, that means we're somehow less selfish than the masculine men of the world. That's just not true. In fact, focusing on relationships can be a very selfish thing. And I bet if you were to ask a lot of men out there whether they felt like women were by default less selfish than men just because they're more hyper-focused on relationships, a lot of them would say no. And there's a reason for this. It's because the female's desire to seek out relationships actually directly serve her feeling of safety, and it directly delivers resources, whether financial or emotional, to her. Men, on the other hand, need to eliminate attachments by default so that they can preserve those precious resources until they come across the right woman that they fall in love with, their one and only.
And they can come in the comments here and deny it until they're blue in the face. But this is the facts. And the quicker you realize this as a woman, the happier you will be in this life. Once you realize that a man does not give an F about you, you will be happier as a woman.
That is the total opposite of what makes you happy as a woman. That is just basically saying, look, I can't win in the dating game, so I'm just going to check out completely. I've never had a man actually fall in love with me, emotionally attune to me, and connect with me long term. Therefore, I'm just going to check out and operate from the most basic, simple-minded meaning and belief that I possibly can. Now, if you'd like to discover how commitment-friendly your man is, comment below and I'll link you to a free quiz to find out how commitment-friendly he is.